Yeah, I went from basically zero to over $30,000 a month in about 90 days, and I've consistently done about $40,000 a month for really the last 6 months. Yeah, I've been really fortunate to have that. I think there's a lot of factors that have kind of gone into that, but I think I want to be clear, like it was no walk in the park by any means. It's taken a lot of work, and at certain times I was working more than I was before, but that's kind of what it takes to start from zero.
Like, why don't you introduce yourself and give us a 2 minute intro about what you do as a consultant?
Yeah, absolutely. Grateful to be here. I've been in B2B tech for about 10 years now. Before that, I built and sold a small digital marketing agency. I owned that for about 2 years. And then 18 months into that, I had a chance to exit that to a much bigger competitor. And that was a catalyst for me to, I wanted to get into software, but we didn't want to move to San Francisco. So we ended up coming here to Salt Lake City. We lived in Southern California at the time and ended up joining a company called Hireview on the sales team, and I sold there and ended up running a few different teams, and we scaled from a couple million to about 30 million in 2 years. And then I left there and ended up joining a company called Lucid, or Lucid Chart is what people know them as. And I ended up running a few different sales teams there and like the main mid market segment of the business. And we went from a couple million to about 100 million in 4 years. They're valued north of $3 billion at this point. And I'm an early stage guy. I enjoy building early stage companies and go to market teams. So I ended up leaving there and joining a company called Workstream that was about 10 employees and 400K of revenue, and ended up scaling them to about 20 million in 2 years and building a go to market team here in Salt Lake City, Utah. And about a year, actually exactly a year ago, I stepped away from there because honestly, I got 4 young kids and a wife that I haven't emotionally been there for in a really long time, as I've been scaling venture backed startups. And um, I wanted to spend time with them. So I left there kind of with no direction as to what to do, and ended up just was going to take the rest of the year off, and ended up meeting a bunch of founders in November last year to look at what my next role is going to be as I started in 2023, and met about 30 founders in the course of a month. And it was the same story over and over again about building their go to market function. And I recognize this huge gap in this transition from founder led sales to building a repeatable, scalable sales motion. And anyways, it's kind of what has led me today. I decided not to go back to join any of them, and instead go all in on consulting and help not just one, but many early stage founders build repeatable, scalable sales motions. So that was the first week of December. Decided to go all in on consulting, and it's been a hell of a year. Have had a lot of success, a lot of learnings, and have really enjoyed it.
Well, it's so cool that you have such a vast go-to-market experience working in various W2 jobs, and then you were able to discover the consulting part, and now you've been able to find so much success with that part in somewhat of a relatively short time. It's
Yeah,
been less than a year, and you're doing really well.
yeah, yeah. I feel very lucky to have had the success I had. Yeah, I went from basically zero to over $30,000 a month in about 90 days, and then consistently done about $40,000 a month for really the last 6 months. Yeah, I've been really fortunate to have that. I think there's a lot of factors that have kind of gone into that, but um, I think I want to be clear, like it was no walk in the park by any means. It's taken a lot of work, and at certain times I was working more than I was before, but that's kind of what it takes to start from zero.
That's remarkable. That's where a lot of the people listening to this podcast want to be at. Can you tell me how many clients is that typically, and how many hours of work do you need to put in to get that?
Yeah. So I think at the beginning of the year, the the goal was just to ramp as quickly as possible, and I did that. And I think, let's see, going into March, April, ended up having about 6 or 7 clients at a time, and that made up the 40,000.
Right.
And I have pivoted over the course of the last 6 months into like what I really enjoy, what I want to do more of, and what the deliverables are and things like that. But there's a ton of learnings there, right? And I like thank God for my early customers that were just willing to take a chance on me. And I was very clear at the beginning, like I'm just learning this. Like I don't know what my deliverables should be. I don't know how to price this, frankly. Like tons and tons of learnings there, which is why I've documented it all publicly because I think there's so many people that want to learn how to do this. In fact, I'm building a course as we speak on how to do this repeatably and how I have found success and like all the details of how to build a repeatable emotion there around selling your services. So yeah, I found some things that have worked for me really, really well. And one of the biggest things that I wanted to do was to kind of diversify outside of just my LinkedIn presence. I feel very fortunate to have over 30,000 connections on LinkedIn, and that helps with reach and audience. And I wanted to see if that was eliminated, or if that was not a factor, if someone doesn't have 30,000 connections, how do they build a repeatable motion? I mean, that's my job in helping early stage companies now, is how do you build repeatability there? So I want to craft that playbook around uh, someone off the street that wants to sell their knowledge or expertise and whatever it might be. How do they have something that's repeatable that they could go execute on a daily basis? And it's not going to take 15 hours a week. It might take 60 hours a week, but you can work for yourself, and eventually that'll change over time. So um, yeah, we could probably dive in. There's a lot of learnings there around how I've kind of crafted that playbook.
Yeah, obviously, we'll dive into it in a few moments. But before that, I want to ask you about the early days, specifically about your first 60 days. You said that your first month of deciding to go into consulting, you talked to 30 founders and spoke with them. And basically, those 30 calls helped you understand a bit more about the offering that you're going to put out.
Yeah. Um, it's interesting because I actually went into those calls interviewing. That's what those calls were. They were hiring a VP of sales, and I
Okay.
was on the other end. I was interviewing, right? Like these are early stage founders. Most of them were like less than 1 million of revenue, and I would argue like most of them are pre product market fit even. And
Right.
the story, honestly, the story, 80% of the time, the founder would show up, and it sounded like, hey, we've hired a sales leader previously. They built a small team around it. It didn't work out. But so we had to like part ways with that team. And now we're back to the drawing board, but we've got it right this time. And I thought, damn, there's a huge gap here, right? And so my initial learnings actually came around what I would say is like product market fit validation for me was actually interviews, and it was having these conversations, and it was the same one over and over again. I was thinking, man, I've seen this rodeo 3 times at this stage. Like, how do we, there's got to be a better way to help founders transition. And most founders, number one, they've never hired salespeople before. Number two, they've never built any go-to-market function before. Number three, a lot of times they're engineers, right? They have like, don't even think or operate like a salesperson. And so as I started to like think about this, I transitioned from the mindset of interviewing to like, how could I solve this problem at scale? And I'll never forget, my wife and I, we got to the end of so many of these calls, and ended up with a handful of offers. And honestly, we were sitting around the dinner table at Thanksgiving, and I remember telling my wife, at this point, like I hadn't been working for about almost 5 months at that point. We were just hanging out with the family. And bless her heart, I was like, you know what? I actually don't think I'm going to go back. and and she looks at me like I'm crazy, rightfully so. And I'm like, but I just think there's just more here. And we were really fortunate to have 12 months of savings. It's like, okay, worst case scenario, I don't make a penny for 12 months, and then what? I just go get a job. I mean, that's my back, what I could fall back to. So um, I was really lucky to have some of that early product market fit validation throughout those calls. And honestly, I see this a lot. I get so many people to reach out to me that are in similar situations. Honestly, they have incredible experience, and they're going through interview after interview after interview. And there's a reason those people are getting hired. And I would argue that most of those people that are trying to hire full time actually should be doing fractional work or hiring fractionally to test the waters on whatever service that someone might have. So anyone that's going through that experience can actually use that as their product market fit validation and say, like, could I craft an offering around this and not just support one customer for 4 or 5 months, but support three at a single time, which is what my course is kind of designed around, is like, how do you start to translate that and think about, I get people all the time that just have, even as a sales leader, they wanted to reach out and brainstorm ideas or talk about like early go to market stuff. So there's a sense, and most people I think have a sense of what problems can be solved in the market and where they can solve it. It's about now like putting that and piecing it together into some sort of framework that they can deliver.
Hmm. So do you think like really any person with a deep expertise in any niche who has never had any consulting experience, and just start a consulting business and have more success with it than they would maybe, picking out the next W2 job?
I think most people can do it. I think they underestimate themselves. But when you look at someone that's been doing the same thing for 5 or 10 years in their career, I guarantee they become an expert in something that the founders that are now just starting their career in their company don't have a damn clue about. And they need the same service, they need the same help, right? Like there's so many niches that people could go into. I can't say that you're going to do $40,000 a month. That's not realistic. And I understand that. But the reality is, most people, number one, they can do it on the side. They can work a full time job and still do fractional work part time. And honestly, if they could start to scale that and put frameworks around it, they could probably replace their income with some more focused effort and like some strategy around how they're going to go to market with it, and then building some confidence on repeatability. I did the opposite and just quit my job and decided after 5 months I should do this. I wouldn't recommend that. Do it while you have a full-time job. Start testing the water, because there's plenty of people out there that can use your expertise. And then if you do it right from the get-go and have these, frameworks around it, then you could step away at some point, and that's like fully your choice. My back was against the wall and I didn't have a choice. I had to figure it out. I don't recommend that.
Right. Yeah. Let's talk about things that you had to figure out the hard way, which is you mentioned building out your deliverables and even your pricing strategy. Can you speak about where you started, how you started looking at these, and how it evolved and how it is right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think maybe one biggest learning early on was shifting from hourly to a flat rate with deliverables, and just a retainer based pricing. And people that have been in the space for a while understand that. It makes so much sense. But I know there's so many out there. It's easier to start hourly, and when you don't have the confidence to execute on a retainer based deliverables, it gets scary. But I remember I did my first few agreements on hourly. Man, it was a disaster, honestly. Like I hated it, because I came back to, I was literally tracking my hours in every little thing I did, and I was like, holy hell, I might as well go get a full time job. This is like worse than what I ever wanted to do. And what I realized was there was some outcome or deliverable that I was actually driving towards. I just wasn't clear on how to define that. And so what I worked on really hard in Q1 of this year was, what are those clear deliverables that we could drive towards with some degree of confidence? And then what are the consistent inputs I have on, from an onboarding perspective of the first 30, 60, 90 days with a customer, and what could I expect? And a lot of that took a lot of work of understanding the stage and life cycle of that customer and what they currently had in place, and what I could personally deliver in a 30, 60, 90. And so that just takes a fair amount of work to like figure that out and discover it. And the more conversations you can have around it, the better. I think one of the biggest learnings also is being open and transparent about the stage that you're at in building this business. I wasn't afraid to, my first couple customers, let them know I don't have a clue how to do this, and or price it or track this or whatever. But I need your help in like defining it. And for that, I did it at a discounted rate. There's advice out there that actually goes against that. It's like, oh, don't discount your services up front. I would argue the opposite, because I don't know how you're supposed to get repetitions and learn if you don't know any different. And now I have a lot of confidence in knowing, here's my flat monthly fee based on where you're at, and here's the deliverables I can expect from that. And it will take you time to get there. But the reality is, you got to convince a few people to take chances on you in the early days until you build that confidence of some sort of repeatability and deliverables at each stage.
That makes sense. And can you share with the listeners what exactly your deliverables are? Let's say just a couple of deliverables for 30, 60, or 90 days.
Yeah, absolutely. So it depends at each stage. Each founder's, let me take a step back. My ICP, I work with early stage founders that are looking to build repeatable, scalable sales motions. And there's maybe two kind of main offerings that I have now. If you have a few sales reps in place, at least two, then we could work on a full consulting engagement where we will build a full go-to-market playbook. And a lot of that is like we're co-authoring the playbook together, but I need reps that are in the trenches executing the work every single day to test and iterate the things that are going to help us build repeatability there. Okay, that's my main consulting. I don't do as many of those because they take a lot more work, and usually that's in this stage where founders are not quite ready to hire a head of sales, maybe can't quite afford it, and they want to prove or reduce the risk of hiring additional sales reps or that head of sales, because more often than not, the head of sales has never seen that stage. They've never actually built the playbook themselves. They're stepping in to a playbook that's existing, and they need to just execute further and further and hire against it. So I spend a lot of time on those. I've shifted more and more to advisory services, which is a chunk down version of that. And we can still work on playbooks. There's a fair amount of that, but they're pre-product market fit companies. They usually have maybe one sales rep in place, and we just need some product market channel validation to confirm that what we're doing here can work. And can we just build the foundation in order to potentially go hire some more sales reps into this? And a lot of that just takes time and testing on certain target ICP, who you're going after, your target message, and to your target persona, and then what channel is going to work. And that's a lot of work that it takes weeks to develop and test and even know what's working. And I'm not doing that work. It's dependent upon the reps that are in seat. And so from a deliverable standpoint, there's things we work towards with the asterisk of like, we don't know what's going to work or not work here. Here's the desired outcome, and here's what best case scenario looks like. But here's what worst case scenario looks like, is that we've disproved a lot of things really quickly. So what might take you 18 months to figure out, we should be able to do it in about 4 months and waste a hell of a lot less money, let alone hiring someone full time that will come in here and cost you $200,000-300K a year.
Right. Right. That is incredible. So, have you ever faced any situation with a client where you couldn't meet a deliverable, or where you promised too much?
Yeah, absolutely. Number one, I back out on those. Number two, I refund them because it's just not worth it to me. Or like, and I've gotten much better about expectations on deliverables up front, if that makes sense. So, my contracts are very loose, and I'm very clear about that up front because we're testing something that we don't know what works. And I think there's other consultants out there that do other things that can be way more like strict on their deliverables, and I envy that so much, right? Like, I can't just come in and do a project and all of a sudden you got product market fit and we're going to $1 million and 10 million in revenue. I wish it was that case. I'd be a gajillionaire, or it would be too easy and I probably wouldn't have a job. So there's just so many unknowns. And so I try to give the most real assessment of what I think is possible based on the stage they're at. And some of my customers are way further along. Some of them are at 3-4 million of revenue, have a team in place, but they didn't like build the foundational piece to scale to 10 million. And they don't necessarily have a sales leader in place. So we come in and we build a lot of those foundational pieces in order to allow them to go to the next level. The ones that are pre-product market fit, right? Like I'm all of my deliverables are very asterisk with like, we don't know what to expect here, but here's how we're going to test a lot of these different things really quickly. And here's what I think we might be able to do. And here's the indicators of what that will look like. And if we can get here, then we can more, with some degree of confidence, go hire more people in to execute this. And if we can drive towards that, I do a constant check-in with founders on how are you feeling, where are we at, how are you feeling on the pace and progress we're making. And ultimately what it comes down to is it is measuring this against, like, if they would have gone alone and done this or hired someone full time, which is way more expensive, and feeling this obligation of trying to keep this person on for 9 or 12 months to even see if this is going to work, which is a very expensive test for founders to make.
Right. That makes sense. And then about your pricing strategy. So earlier you were doing hourly pricing. So was that hourly based on the last W2 job that you had?
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember exactly how I structured it. I think in one of the articles I wrote, I broke it down, but basically what I did is take what is a normal on target earnings for a full-time role. So I think it did maybe off of 400,000 a year, whatever the hourly rate is for that. And I did 1.5x on an hourly rate. Sometimes maybe even 2x, depending on like what I thought my time commitment was. I think that's pretty normal. Frankly, I don't know if that I don't know if that's how other people do it. It's how I did it, and I made it up and received validation from customers on it. And there was times where I would quote one thing that was probably way too high, and I realized I'm probably off there. And sure enough, if I call the founder and they're like, "Yeah, you're way off the mark," and so those kind of tests, not being afraid to call the founder back and say, "Hey, am I freaking crazy?" $12,000 a month. Like, what should it be? Oh, you budgeted for 8? Okay, great. I'll recalculate it. Let me see. You know what I mean? And a lot of that helped me refine my pricing, but not having too much pride to be able to say I'm way wrong here, and let me try something different. And then allowed me to start to bucket how I think about deliverables and pricing structures against my time commitment.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. And have you ever uh, increased your prices on your retainer?
Yes. Yeah. So as demand started to spike, it allowed me to continue to increase prices 10 to 20%. And that's where I tested the upper end of that threshold. Um, and like really the upper end of that threshold is ten to $12,000 a month. And for me, I could be totally wrong, and maybe I'm just not good at it. Honestly, I have friends I know of that are charging $15,000 and $25,000 a month doing the same thing. Honestly, I for me and what I like to do and the time commitment that I like to put in, I don't feel good doing more than that, frankly, because it's at a space where like the outcomes are strong enough for me, um, and it doesn't force me to feel like I need to be more involved, if that makes sense. Ultimately, I started this because of the flexibility and the opportunity to continue to do what I want. And what I didn't want to get trapped into was thinking, could I charge $20,000 a month and have two customers? Probably, but I also didn't want those to feel like they were half-time jobs for me each. That wasn't that would kind of go back to I might as well work full time if that's the point.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's talk about the flexibility that this consulting business has brought into your life. Can you tell me, like, what does consulting allow you to do that your previous W2 roles had not allowed you previously?
Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of this now. I mean, I think going into this, I didn't know what to expect, and I believe anyone that wants to or can has a niche or an expertise that they've done for at least a few years, they can somewhat replicate this to some extent. And again, maybe it's not $40,000 a month, but most people don't need that. If they did $10,000 a month as a side hustle, they would be more than willing to step away from a full time job and continue to do that. So um, ultimately, I went all in on consulting because I spent 10 years like emotionally disconnected from my family, and what I mean by that is like, yes, I was involved. I had 4 kids, obviously, during that time. All my kids are still young. My oldest is 9. My smallest is 4. And we had our hands full. And my wife, like bless her heart, we're very fortunate for her to stay home and like be with them that whole time. Um, but we're getting to a stage where my oldest is 9 and 8, and they're getting old enough to like my input and involvement matters so much. And I'll never forget exactly 12 months ago, and this was right before I decided to quit my job. I went to tuck my son in at night, and went down and was talking to him. And I remember this like experience of I was trying to talk to him, and honestly, I had a really hard time like keeping a conversation with him. And it just honestly broke my heart because I thought like I know his interests, I know what he likes, but like I feel like he was lacking connection with me because I was always on. I was always available on Slack. I was taking calls at 6 and 7 o'clock at night, sometimes till 10 or 11 o'clock at night. I mean, it's just the nature of like being a sales leader at a high venture backed, high growth startup. And, calls at 6 a.m. Like it was just unlimited access to me full time. And if I got paid on an hourly basis for that role, you know what I mean? Like it would have been
Yeah.
garbage. I would go work somewhere else. And it's just the nature of feeling this obligation to my single employer during that. And I remember thinking like, there's no amount of money that like would makes me want to continue this. And so when I resigned, I just went all in on my family. And I thought like, I would rather make a fraction of what I make every single year and figure out like how we can sustain that. If it means that I can be with my family and be there emotionally, not feel this obligation of having to take calls at 6 or 7 p.m. because it's my boss, right? Like I never wanted to do that again. And I remember telling my wife, like, truly, I'll do whatever it takes to figure out just how to be my own boss in the future and never have to do that. And um, honestly, it's been incredible. It's actually worked out even better than I thought. Not just the income. The irony is, I'll make more money doing this, but it's opened the doors and allowed me to, number one, I spent more time with my family in the last 12 months than I have probably in 10 years combined. I'm there every day. I can take my kids to school every day. I pick them up every single day. I'm here when they get home from school every day. This summer, we were able to travel all the time, and I still worked. Like, but we could be on vacation. I could take a handful of calls and then check out at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, go to the beach, and hang out with them all day. And the amount of flexibility it's allowed me, and optionality of like I get to work as much or as little as I want. Last month was my biggest month from a revenue perspective in consulting, but I'm very actively scaling down going into next month because I'm working on acquiring other small businesses right now and continue to like diversify my income across multiple streams as opposed to just consulting. And so I've been proactive about not taking on new customers or taking on smaller customers that will just continue to require less time of me. So um, it's been incredible. I'm now, it's allowed me, number one, incredible cash flow. Number two, allowed me to diversify and take that cash flow and pour it into other investments that reduce my risk of having a single employer, meaning consulting is my only employment for the longest time. Like how do I take that income and now spread that across 4 or 5 so that maybe next summer I don't want to take any consulting customers. That's my goal, is like maybe I'll do zero consulting next summer and ramp back up in the fall, but like spend the summer traveling and hanging out with the kids kind of thing. And I've been really fortunate to have a great year to do that. I'm working on a few different acquisitions and businesses and revenue streams that are in preparation for that. Um, and honestly, I'm more engaged in my work. I'm building an enterprise around my family, and my family comes first. And now this is allowing me to say, how can I build this to a point where I have multiple businesses that are producing monthly cash flow every single month. I might scale a very small team around it, but also like frees me from having a boss, uh, frees me from having investors that I have to report to, and allows me to be and work anywhere and anytime and work as much as I want or as little as I want to.
Sounds super amazing and so lovely that you're able to spend all of this quality time with your family, and the optionality that it has brought to your income, because like with a W2 job, you have one employer, and right now you have like not just multiple clients as a consultant, but also you're diversifying into multiple businesses. So that I am sure like that will be really good from making you financially anti-fragile, essentially.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I had an experience this summer where about 4 months ago where LinkedIn LinkedIn shut off my account,
Oh,
and I woke up on a Friday morning, my LinkedIn was gone, and so of course like I emailed them for 7 days straight, and the only answer I would get back is we've permanently banned you from LinkedIn. I'm just like,
wow.
what does that mean? Like, why? And it was the first moment, honestly, is the closest experience I've ever had to maybe to getting laid off. Like, LinkedIn is my income. It's how I generate leads. It's how I find people. The thought of like, well, hey, what if a referral, one of my customers refers me to another founder and they go to try and find me on LinkedIn, they can't even find me. How would they even get in touch with
Yeah.
me? You know what I mean? Like, my heart was broken. Honestly, it was 7 days of hell, and I wrote in detail about it on my Substack, but it turns out it was like a misstep of LinkedIn. They accidentally deleted my account, and it was such an eye-opening experience for me to realize, like, overnight, I don't own my LinkedIn account. It could be gone, and that means consulting could be gone. Like, it would be 10 times harder without a LinkedIn account. I couldn't even use a new email address. They blocked my IP. So like I had no way to even create a new account. I couldn't look people up. They couldn't find me. Like, it was brutal. And that was an eye-opening experience for me where I was like, okay, if consulting was gone tomorrow, right? If I got laid off tomorrow, how do I make sure I can still do what I'm doing? And I don't need to make $40,000 a month. That's the reality of it. Like, we live on way less than that. It's just a luxury I get to have right now. But how do I continue to diversify my income into multiple streams so that if that ever happened again, I have other businesses or assets that can continue to make me income, and I'm not 100% dependent upon LinkedIn, which is now what my Substack has turned into. Essentially, is how do I just build it all in public? How do I acquire small businesses and continue to diversify my income across as many streams as possible?
I love this. We will link your Substack in the show notes when we publish this show. So this is can go and not just follow you on LinkedIn, but also enter their email on Substack, which you will have more access to forever.
Great.
Yeah, but let's go back there for a second to talk about LinkedIn. You obviously have a large number of followers on LinkedIn. The last time I checked, it was more than 30,000 people following you there. Has it been like always been this way, or did you do something to increase the posts when you got into consulting?
Yeah. I think that's what's hard is I've been doing this for 10 years. Like, even LinkedIn, I've been on LinkedIn for 10 years. And when I first joined LinkedIn, when I joined HireView 10 years ago, I did the same thing. I actually, joining as a sales rep, I documented my journey live of like joining as a sales rep. And honestly, I don't know why or how I got the idea. Maybe I read a Gary Vee book or something. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Maybe I'll try this. Like, ultimately, it's how I learn. Even when I'm working at these startups, I document everything because it's second nature to me. I just write it all down and it allows me to review it and like refine it. And I think I've been very fortunate to have that skill for some reason, and it works well. Ultimately, so to answer your question, like, no, man, it's taken me 10 years to build followers of 30,000. And why do people like continue to follow me? I'm not really sure, honestly. I'm like constantly iterating my strategy, and I've only really been posting for not even 12 months yet, like back, because I wrote early on in my career, and then I quit about 3 years in because I just got busy, and I thought honestly it was a distraction, and I didn't really post until 12 months ago when I left, and I thought, okay, I'm going to post about this, and I posted one time in the first week of December about going all in and consulting, and I had over 200 peers reach out to me and say like, how are you
Wow.
doing this? How are you consulting? And I was like, oh, dude, I don't know. Like, I know nothing. But I'll tell you as I go, like I'm happy to share learnings. But I'm making zero income from consulting. So don't ask me how I'm doing it. I'll tell you how I'm doing it. I've saved 12 months of runway in case I don't make $1 for the next 12 months. That's how I'm doing it. But, and when so many people reached out, I was like mind blown. I was like, man, there's so many people that want to do this. And I feel just like very lucky to be in a spot to do it. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to build this in public. Like I truly don't have no pride. Like if it epically fails, then like maybe someone's learned something from it. But ultimately, it's writings that I write for myself as I learn anyways. I might as well just like throw it in a Substack and try to build it in public. And so that's kind of like gained this initial traction over the last even 12 months. Yeah, I don't really pay attention to follower count. I don't really care. I care more about like, can I deliver value? And ultimately what this comes down to is I've watched what's happened in tech the last couple of years. We've ridden the boom of tech in the good years. And then all of a sudden, when you have these venture-backed companies can't afford extremely high performers, extremely talented people, and their income is cut off like that due to layoffs, they're scrambling of what to do. And now you have this flood of amazing talent to the market, and they're all applying for the same jobs. And I'm just like, how can I help more of my friends and peers like have the chance to do what they're doing? I mean, take their knowledge and package that up and sell it, because they don't need to replace their income, but God, let them pay their bills for a few months, right? Like if they're doing some consulting work before they can find the next job. I've had friends that have been let off for over 12 months. And there's so much value that they could bring if they have some structure around it and are able to go deliver that value to somebody else. And they might turn out to be able to like do it full time. So it's why I've documented it live. It's why I'm building a course on it right now. It should launch in the next 30 days. I'll give your listeners a discount. I just want to help more people be able to have the opportunity I've had, honestly. And you don't have to go out and make $40,000 a month. I think a lot of people would be happy with a couple grand a month. That'd be an incredible side hustle that could turn into a full-time job if they wanted to. But ultimately, like do stuff that matters most, which is be there emotionally for your family. Know that if your job got cut tomorrow, you can still provide for your family and you could be there emotionally for them, and know that you don't have to stress about the money. You don't have to stress about the income, because there's other ways to make money.
That's really cool. And let's talk about your course, the course that you're building for a second. Can you tell me more about what you're putting in there, and who is it for, and what it will allow them to do?
Yeah, the same way that I build playbooks and repeatability for early stage B2B founders. I've pieced everything together that I've learned over the last 12 months of doing this around just like basic fundamentals. Where do I even start? That's the number one question. Like, should I build a website? Who should I target? How should I price and package these things? How do I generate leads consistently? How do I do this in a full-time job? Right. And all these questions, I've had 200 in the first week to reach out to me. And of course, over the last 6 months, if I built this in public, I get probably 4 or 5 a week that want to do coffee chats. And I'm honored. I'm so honored. The reality is I could spend my whole time doing coffee chats, and I've had to like get to the point where, I'm so sorry. I just don't have time. I'm acquiring other businesses. Like there's just so much going on right now. And so I decided, okay, I'm just going to like, how can I piece all this together into a playbook and deliver it in a one-to-many approach, which allows me to like do my coffee chats, because ultimately it's the same questions over and over and over. And the same way that I started with founders and started consulting, it's the same questions, it's the same problem. And so my goal is to empower more people to just go find their first and second customer. That's it. And do it without having to go through the hurdles I had. I had the the opportunity of like, I was full-time. So I could dedicate 60 or 70 hours a week to figuring out how to nail this. Most people don't. They have a full-time job. So let me package those learnings up that I was putting in 67 hours a week in Q1 of this year to scale to $40,000 a month, because most of them just want to scale to $5,000 a month. That'd be amazing. And do it while they have their full-time job, and build the confidence and some sort of repeatability to step away from their full-time job and go all in. So there's a lot of things around that. The same way I build repeatability for founders is, what's the frameworks that you can go out without having 30,000 followers, without just being able to post on LinkedIn and get inbound, because yes, I've got a lot of inbound, but ultimately it came down to the structure that I execute every single day. And I don't I don't have to do it as much anymore because I busted my ass in Q1 doing it. And that came around this network effect of who are my buyers talking to and how can I interject there and be everywhere around them. And that's what generated the most lead flow, which came from ventures VCs, it came from other founders, and it came from peers that are also talking to my buyers. And the amount of referrals I can get there and ask for and proactively ask for is incredible. I mean, if I wanted to go generate some more leads this week, I could probably go find 5 leads in the next 48 hours simply by this network effect of triangulating myself between people that are always talking to my buyers. And so I've taken all the details of those aspects and how to go execute that, and then package that up into a playbook that is repeatable.
It sounds really, really interesting. Let's try to dive into a few of the tips or a few of the things that you said you're covering in this course so that listeners can get a taste of what's there to come. You mentioned that you share tips on how a listener who does not have as many followers as you can go
Yep.
out and get their first 2 clients. So let me just paint a hypothetical scenario. Let's say
Yeah.
it's me and I want to start consulting and helping people start their own podcast on
Yep.
for their startups. So how can I go out there and get my first 2 clients in the next, I don't know, say a month?
Yeah. Great question. So I think first thing is most of the things you think about of starting from zero are probably not applicable. And that's most people are like, well, I need to form my LLC. I need to build my website, right? Like, cause like, where are they going to find me? None of that matters. Like, forget about that stuff. We don't even know if you have a product here yet, right? So we need to go
Right.
validate your concept. And ultimately that's going to start with defining your ICP. Okay. Who do you need to be talking to, right? What size of company wants to start a podcast? What problems are they trying to solve? Who are they selling to? Like firmographic information that makes up who might be an interesting audience for you. Who are they trying to reach, right? So let's get like super clear about that. And you have to realize you need to niche down way more than you think. It's not, hey, B2B SaaS companies all want to start a podcast. That is not true at all. There's probably some consistency there within people you've worked with or as being an expert in the space that you could go find. Okay. So we'll get really clear in the tactics that it takes to like get really clear around defining your ideal customer profile. Then we're going to talk about persona. Okay. What's the persona you're going after? Is that the CEO? Is a marketing leader going after that? What does their background experience look like? Like what leads them to be a good buyer? Why would they be buying now? Right? And then we start going into like messaging around that. What things, as they start to think about, I always look for gaps in employment, meaning, okay, at what point do they hire someone to do this? Or are they thinking about hiring someone to do this? Is that maybe that's like they just fundraise their Series A and their audience is salespeople or their buyers are salespeople, and they're trying to scale to Series B, and they've hired a VP of marketing at that point. You could probably interject really well there, and start to craft value around increasing reach and audience with that VP of marketing. So then that starts to form your message that you're going to form and target that person. And then you need to think about channel. Like, where is this person at? Who are they listening to? Who are they getting feedback from? And how do I start to make connections there with those people to be top of mind for my target audience? And as you start to triangulate these things, you think about, okay, that's just your buyer, right? Now, let's talk about like other people that also work with your buyer. How do I get in front of them? How do I make sure that, like, what are 3 things that they want? Do they want more value in these 3 areas that I can provide? Can I do free podcast editing or something for these people, because they're much more likely to refer me into other similar personas. And there's usually 2 or 3 people that you can find that are talking to your buyers at any given moment. And if you can write a list of 3 things that each of those people want and figure out how can I create something one time that I can re-deliver over and over as I meet these people. Now all of a sudden you have people in the field working for you that are generating leads. And I've done the same thing even with my business. I sit between I think about founders, right? So the early stage B2B founders, more often than not, they're pre-product market fit. Okay. They need money, capital to grow. And they need top talent, right? And money comes from VCs, and top talent they usually don't have access to. And I just happen to have like a deep network of people I've hired, people I know, and all those people kind of need each other. And so I sit in between VCs, other founders who are their peers, and talent. And I find like each of those, well, talent needs access to good founders because they want to join their companies. Founders need VCs for money, and then they need talent to fund to help grow the business. And VCs want to meet more founders, and they also want to meet top talent that they can plug into their portfolio companies. And so I deliver each of those to each other and kind of triangulate these. And then all of a sudden, when I'm passing stuff for them, they start sending stuff back. Hey, I just got off a call with these three founders. They're fundraising, but they need a go-to-market help at this stage. And so there's a lot of that kind of networking that goes on. And I found a few partners that just work really well. And I've gone really deep with them. And most of my leads now come from a couple partners. And we just keep passing stuff back and forth to each other. Hey, I met these two founders next week. You should talk to them. And then he'll send me, here, I just talked to these founders. They need your help. And so it's created this flywheel effect that most people can replicate that. That doesn't have anything to do with my LinkedIn. My inbounds from just posting on LinkedIn, I mean, now my content, I've actually shifted my content from sales. It's mostly about small business acquisition at this point because frankly, like I don't need the inbound lead flow from LinkedIn for consulting. And there's actually more interest, I think, out there for my audience around like what I'm doing on acquiring businesses.
Okay. This is fantastic. I am so glad that we could run through this exercise, and this gives me a much better sense of what I can expect from your course. I'm personally like really looking forward to the course and checking out what insights and how that course can help me. So I'm sure that the listeners listening to it will also find it very insightful.
Thanks. I got your free code. You don't need to pay for it. Just shoot me a note.
Thank you. Very generous. Like, all right, like final question for the interview. The most pressing concern for any consultant is always how to get leads and how to generate like a consistent lead flow that will keep them in the business even after like a client or two suddenly drops them off or something happens there. So I know you've written about this extensively in your Substack. Can you close this interview out by giving the listeners some parting thoughts on how to generate a consistent lead flow?
I think the biggest, and I go into depth on this in my course, kind of what we've just talked about here, but ultimately it's finding a process and executing it every single day consistently and starting to measure those inputs and the outcomes from those. Early on, when I first got going, I measured religiously how many referrals I asked for, how many like partner relationships I would talk to on a daily basis, how many VCs I talked to on a daily basis, and like what I would do with them. And then over time measured the outcomes of the referrals they were sending me. And I got really repeatable around that to say like, okay, just from my LinkedIn, I don't need to have a LinkedIn audience to do this. Obviously I do have to have the connections through VCs and other people, but a lot of times that took cold outreach, that took other referrals. Instead of maybe asking a single founder for another referral for another founder, it was, hey, founder, who else are you working with? Who do you talk to on a regular basis that you've purchased, or a trusted advisor that's not a VC? And that's how I found some of these other people and allowed me to say, reach out to them cold and say, hey, here's what I'm doing. Here's my track record and the success that I've had. Can we talk? I'd love to share. Hey, you're looking for other founders. I talk to a lot of founders. I'll share founders with you as I come across them and start to build those initial relationships and what really measuring the inputs of what I'm doing on an everyday basis I did it 7 days a week, man. It didn't matter what day it was. I was reaching out to these people. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't cold calling, but I was texting, I was LinkedIn outreach to people. Like, there was a lot of thought went into this, and I knew if I was asking at least 3 people a day for referrals, and it wasn't to just sell. It was, who else are you talking to? Who else should I be talking to that is like networked into this space? And all of a sudden, I'm getting plugged into like this Y Combinator channel of lead flow, and I work with a lot of Y Combinator backed companies because I get plugged into these groups and have gotten networked into these. And VCs are hard to get a hold of, but there's ways to get in front of them if you don't already have those networks. And I think of it as like my existing past, my existing network. Who my previous CEO, who is he connected with? Who would be familiar with the companies I've joined? So there's like breaking down this familiarity barrier of trying to build credibility from the get-go when like most of them have never heard of my companies before or something. So I'm really only like 1.5 degrees removed from all of my past and the people that are from my past of the companies I work for or CEOs I've worked for. And so it allows me to have actually warm outreach as opposed to, yes, I'm reaching out cold, but like they at least know, oh, I've heard of Workstream, or yes, we met your CEO previously and we know who. They don't know who I am, but like they know about the company I joined. And so it builds on credibility and allows me to build some repeatability there.
That makes a lot of sense. All right. Thank you so much for joining me on this fantastic conversation, Blake. It has been such a pleasure talking to you and learning from your experiences. I think the audience and the listeners will find this episode really, really insightful.
I hope so. I appreciate it, Natesh. And yeah, anyone happy to feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I get flooded with a lot of messages, so I'm slow to reply there, but I try to reply to all of them. Or you can follow me on Substack too. It's just blakeharber.substack.com. Yeah, I build everything in public. So I'm an open book on how to do this, and hopefully we can learn together.
Yeah, definitely. I'll link to all the things concerning Blake and all of the stuff that he's been building everywhere he writes in the show notes. So go check it out and learn from Blake.